And we're live. Hi guys, I'm Mike. This is F1 Fanatics and welcome to the qualifying live reaction. Obviously, we have just had qualifying at the British Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton does it again. 3/10 he's beaten his teammate by to kind of claim pole. The Mercedes, we all know it this season, is on another level. I mean, you just see without any reactions that this is probably just going to be 100% in qualifying and race for Mercedes. It's crazy. Hi, Liam in chat. Thank you for joining us. I'll do the usual, kind of tweet out the fact that we are live. And then obviously I will start going into the usual Quali live reaction. So, copy the link there. Perfect. Right. Okay, Sam O'Gara, Merc 1-2, great for them. I know, right? Who saw that coming? Mercedes qualifying 1-2, unbelievable. No. Abe, welcome back into chat. Albon was on another level. Oh dear, don't start with poor Alex. Oh no. Liam talks as a Ferrari fan. It wasn't too bad, but Vettel has struggled all weekend and just couldn't find a time, couldn't find a setup. He had some brake pedal issues across the weekend. But Charles Leclerc in P4, only I think a tenth of Max Verstappen. Actually, I think it might have been only a few hundredths of a second off Max Verstappen's time. Charles Leclerc has massively come out with a great qualifying performance there. Obviously, it was a brilliant qualifier last year when the Ferrari was competitive, shall we say. But yeah, that is certainly a brilliant performance from there. Alex is in Max's car. Gasly struggled, and so is Alex. Both great drivers. It's the team's fault. I agree, but I would also say that Valtteri Bottas is very much in Lewis Hamilton's car, and he was only 3/10 off his teammate. Max Verstappen got into Q3 on a medium compound, and Alexander Albon couldn't manage to get the time on a soft. There is no excuses for Alex Albon's performance. It's not good enough. At the end of the day, he knew what he was getting into when he walked into that team. When he walks into Red Bull, you've got to make the most of it, and you'll be judged on that performances. Poor Ollie. Not sure on that one. But anyway, welcome to the chat, Fergus. Hulkenberg could really do well once he gets used to the car. Yeah, he could. But funnily enough, Racing Point actually didn't look like they had that much of an advantage ahead of the rest of the midfield. McLaren's look like they've gone forward. The Renaults look like they've gone forward as well. And Ferrari in the hands of Charles Leclerc looks like it's gone from there. Oh, Ollie Caldwell in F3, I assume. Oh, yeah, definitely on that front. Oh, yeah, it was a big crash with Dunner. Absolutely, this morning. Yeah, that wasn't great at all. I will be catching up with the... I will be catching up with the F3 and F2 over the course of the weekend, but can't watch it live this weekend, so still haven't watched there. Anyway, to start off the Quali live reaction, before giving my thoughts, I will run through the order. So, in P20 was Nicholas Latifi. In Q1, obviously spun late on, not really being able to set a competitive time. Grosjean, again, continues to struggle, only qualifying P19. Raikkonen P18, Giovinazzi P17. The Alfa Romeos again still look poor, and Haas's qualifying pace still looks poor, but expect Magnussen to do better in the race. He qualified P16. George Russell, now for the third race in a row, who's got into Q2. Fantastic performance from there. Hi, David Xavier. No, from there. Nico's Pondering's not happy. Obviously, big Nico Hulkenberg fan. Sorry that he's out there. JB, welcome to the chat as well. Albon roasting incoming. I'm going to lay off as much as I want because I don't want to kind of keep beating the same bush with Alex Albon. Daniel Kvyat, P14. Hulkenberg, P13. Alexander Albon, P12. Pierre Gasly, P11. Sebastian Vettel, P10. Esteban Ocon, P9. Ricciardo, P8. Sainz, P7. Stroll, P6. Out-qualified by Lando Norris, who's P5. Charles Leclerc, like I said, with that fantastic time. Just looks like a tenth slower than Max Verstappen, which is quite impressive considering there. Max Verstappen in P3, and then the Mercedes in a class of their own. Bottas 3.13 seconds off Lewis Hamilton, who claims another pole at the British Grand Prix. Hassan Alpha, as per usual, at the back. I don't watch Indy. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Was there an Indy comment? Go from there. Carola, welcome back into the chat. Thank you for coming back. I think that hashtag Crash Hamilton or Mercedes should be trending, like we said yesterday. I mean, absolutely unbelievable how good that Mercedes are. I mean, other teams have brought upgrades, haven't they? From what I understand, Hamilton has an MG UK reliability upgrade, but I don't think they've brought any performance upgrades that again seem to be increasing their advantage on there. Samagar, I have Roman in my fancy, and I think he'll make up some points from P19. Potentially, Magnussen is definitely the better option on that one, Sam, but I know you like Roman Grosjean, so go from there. I didn't change any of my drivers. I did change my turbo from Hülkenberg, Perez to Stroll. I changed my turbo to Stroll, although Lando Norris probably looks like he might be a good shout. We'll see what that Racing Point race pace is like, though. Hülkenberg, I switched out for Kimi Räikkönen. I still went there. Haley's come in with a hashtag Lewis. Crash out. Oh, dear. Abe Pandey, was there something loose in Seb's car? I mean, Seb's car just hasn't been all right all weekend, and he struggled all weekend, so it's really no surprise that he did struggle there. Craig Taggart, welcome. Thanks for coming into the chat. Obviously, a keen player in the F1 Fanatics Fantasy League, so thank you for joining in the chat there. And no, not obvious. He would be proud if it was that. So, qualifying from there. Obviously, first of all, you probably have to say Mercedes, it just looks like they're going to get... I can't see any car getting close to them in qualifying. So I just think unless they have both mechanical issues in one qualifying this year, there is going to be 100% qualifying records in there. And you probably wouldn't put it past them to have 100% race completion as well, wins as well. And that would be incredible. That's never done in the history of F1. And I suppose that's probably just another record that Mercedes want to tick off at the moment, because it's going from there. There was something loose between his legs. Yeah. Are you watching Sky or Channel 4 this weekend? I'm watching Sky. Go for it. Any chance of hot weather? No, I think the temperatures are cooler today, so I think it will struggle for that. Williams nearly came close in 92. Yeah, they did. And also McLaren in 1988 almost came close. I think Senna was crashed out in one race by a backmarker, essentially. I don't know whether they were fighting for the race lead. I don't think it would have been fighting on that. But yeah, go from there. This is 2014 all over again. Sergio Reindorf, thanks for joining in the chat. Absolutely, it just looks unbelievable. Liam has gone on Channel 4. Luke watching it as well on there. Channel 4 is much better in my opinion. Well, they have David Coulthard and Mark Webber, don't they? So I think that definitely is the better comment. I probably will be going for the full race coverage with Channel 4 tomorrow. Certainly, I think they will have a better commentary team on that front for the race. Verstappen, again, doing impressive to get that car to P3 in there. But I think one of the real standout performers has to be Charles Leclerc. Where that Ferrari relatively has been paced compared to the midfield. I mean, it's crazy that we're saying that fourth is a great qualifying performance from Ferrari. But I think that really was a top lap from Charles Leclerc to get P4. And also who qualified in P5, Lando Norris, a fantastic performance on that one. So it's, yeah, I think two very good standout performances and two guys who have proven in their careers already, in their obviously very young Formula One careers, that they are very good over one lap. And yeah, Lando and Charles, very impressive in that fourth and fifth. McLarens are looking strong in that midfield. It's now going to be interesting to see McLaren tomorrow, because my big thing with McLaren is I think they're fantastic over one lap. And obviously, again, that's shown in qualifying. Again, great qualifying for those fantasy players. Obviously, this confirms that Carlos Sainz will be at least on for a qualifying streak. So that's a bonus 5 points for making it into Q3 for 5 races in a row now. So that's, well, if he manages to do it, obviously in next week as well. But yeah, McLaren, their race pace is going to be fascinating tomorrow. It'll be interesting to hear you guys' thoughts in the chats. Renault's again look positive, still struggle to get maximum performance, a little bit behind McLaren and Charles Leclerc in the qualifying pace there, but they have pretty good race pace, and that was a better performance. Ocon, his qualifying is his strength, but still not able to out-qualify Ricciardo, but at least he was closer this time. So that was a better performance from Esteban Ocon as well. And Racing Point, obviously, Racing Point has been blitzing it early doors, shall we say, in terms of pace. Still might be very good. Obviously, was good qualifying P3 and P4 last week. Yeah, well, 2 weeks ago in Hungary. But yeah, Lance, what did he qualify in? 6th in the end. And Hulkenberg, it was always going to be tough for Nico, but obviously qualifying down in P13, definitely a struggle on that front. I have Hulk in my fantasy team, Craig. Interesting go to that. What does Albon and Gasly have in common? David, I think you're going to be starting something there that they're both going to be dropped from Red Bull. But yes, let's stick on the positives of qualifying for now. George Russell making it into Q2 again. Yes, qualifying P15 this time, so not there, but still pretty convincing performance ahead of those Haas and Alfa Romeos. Like I said, Haas, their qualifying pace remains poor, but expect them, and especially Kevin Magnussen, to do better in the race. And Kimi Raikkonen hasn't been doing too bad, but see from that performance. So although Russell has qualified P15, expect him probably to drop further back as it goes there. Nicholas Latifi, unfortunate. He keeps making mistakes from there. I've just seen Sam O'Gara talk about Hamilton spinning Q2. Yeah, it proves that he is mortal, and I thought that might have been advantage Bottas, but, you know, Lewis finds a way to come out on top. And if I think we were saying it in our race preview, if Bottas has any chance, he needs to win tomorrow, just for a mental edge over Lewis Hamilton, to beat him in one of Lewis's strongholds, which is obviously the British Grand Prix. Lance Stroll starting from P6 with the softs, going to be a good race. Thanks again, Lance, for joining us in the chat. Yeah, you know, obviously starting on the medium compound, I think you meant to say there, Lance. Definitely going to benefit you for the race because the medium compound is the better race tyre. So that certainly plays into Lance Stroll's advantage going into the race on that front. But I'm trying to avoid it as long as possible. But Pierre Gasly had another very positive performance, out qualifying Daniel Kvyat again, getting the same time as the Racing Point on the medium compound. But because Lance Stroll set the time first, was meant that Gasly missed out on Q3, but he qualifies in the AlphaTauri, the junior team to Red Bull, ahead of Alexander Albon. And so another poor qualifying performance from Alex. 2 Grand Prix in a row now. The pressure is starting to build on the young Thai driver. Going into the comments, Sergio, still a rise. Hamilton spins slower than his teammate all weekend and gives us 2 laps in Q3 that could take pole. Absolutely incredible. I mean, that is just Lewis Hamilton summed up in a comment there, in terms of, you know, he can be slightly off the pace, he can be not exactly entirely on his game, but when it really matters, which is getting that pole position, Lewis Hamilton is so good at nailing that lap when it happens. Fonzo, do Hulk do good? I think Hulk's done well compared to, you know, it's a struggle. Obviously, the Racing Point didn't have that clear advantage of what it had over the competitors in previous weeks. And you've got to bear in mind that he is still obviously in a whirlwind. He's probably in a world of pain, actually, in terms of struggling to get to grips with that car. So I think Hulk's done all right. It's not a massively impressive performance, but I think he's done all right, all things considered, on that front. Got a question. Would you have picked Holt to be replacement driver, or would you have gone for someone else? My opinion is Holt was probably the better option, but imagine like a Button or something. I would have loved to have seen an ex-world champion or something like a Nico Rosberg or Jenson Button kind of come into play. But I think neither of those could keep themselves in race fitness-wise in terms of their weight. And so that would have been a massive issue, putting them in the car. Nico Hülkenberg, I thought, was the best option that Racing Point could have got in such short notice, and with obviously all the travel restrictions in place. And so I think Hülkenberg was a very good option. And if he can get some solid points for Racing Point tomorrow, I think he's done his job. I get Albon is Thai British, but Sky make it out like he's a patriot when he doesn't even race under the flag. Yeah, I guess obviously we know Alexander Albon chose to race under the Thai flag because his mum, when she was arrested, financially it became difficult to fund his racing career. So he got Thai sponsorship by embracing that Thai heritage on there. So I guess that little there. I guess that to me is a really irrelevant point. Not irrelevant, obviously. I'm not saying you're irrelevant, Sam, but yeah, it's a minor point. Shall we go for now? I hope Hülkenberg can get into the top 10 in the race to continue his race streak. Yeah, it seems to continue on from the 2019 season. So that was definitely interesting. That Stroll is a really strong young driver. Also, what the heck is up with Albon? Holt deserves honourable mention. I wouldn't say Stroll is a really strong young driver. I would say Stroll is a good young driver. He's talented. He's doing job. He's now in a good car. He's improved through his time in Formula One. And he's putting in some good performances. I wouldn't say he's a really good talent. I would say George Russell is a really good young talent. Max Verstappen is still young. I know he's been in F1 4 years, but he's a really good young talent. Charles Leclerc is a really good young talent. Lando Norris, I'd probably even start to bring in that category. A really good young talent. Lance Stroll, I wouldn't put in that category from there. Hulk, yeah, obviously we've just spoken about Hulk from there. I want to make a video on it, as I think Esteban should have got it, but I don't know how to make videos. Sam, just go for it. Just kind of even put your phone on it. You can get cheap editing software on your phone. Just kind of slap your phone on and then upload straight to YouTube. It's easy enough. You can DM me a message if you want to kind of do that seriously. Esteban maybe should have, but as he's a reserve driver, but if I was the head of Racing Point and I had the choice between Nico Hülkenberg and Esteban Gutierrez, I think it's a no-brainer really on that one. Haley, it's sad though. Imagine the young lads probably dreamed of winning a GP all their life, and realistically, while Lewis is driving, they won't ever get a real chance to win a race, let alone the season. Yeah, I guess so, but I guess it's up to their teams to build better cars, and Lewis Hamilton isn't going to be around forever, and they are still young in their careers. So definitely not too much of a problem for the future. But right now, obviously, it's hard to see anyone past Lewis Hamilton winning everything. JB, obviously, we needed to have Lord Pastor Maldonado as a replacement, an experienced race winner, and is a very similar to Stroll. Oh, the troll comments are being on for now. Albon now is definitely out of Red Bull. I don't think he's definitely out of Red Bull, but the writing's starting to look like it's on the wall. Getting out qualified by Gasly doesn't look very good on there. Yeah, Leonardo Arujo, I think this is a good point, and this is where I stand. Sorry, try and keep it in focus by not being too close. Albon and Gasly are very talented young drivers, both of them. Both are trying to find their feet in Formula One. Verstappen has had a load of time in that Red Bull car. The car is built around him. It is Red Bull's fault for hiring inexperienced drivers and expecting experienced drivers' results. But they have AlphaTauri. I've said it many times on these live stream, guys, that, yeah, you know, Albon should be in an AlphaTauri right now, learning his trade, and he probably would be going from there. Max is outperforming the car, but at the end of the day, you go into a top seat and you've got to be judged by a top seat standards. Is Alex Albon's performances good enough for a driver in the top seat? Well, I put it to you guys in the chat. Here's a question that I put on Twitter, and I'm not sure on this. would Mercedes hire Alexander Albon? Because Red Bull are looking to match and beat Mercedes. And answer that question honestly. Would Alexander Albon, if it was a free market, they had choice, would Mercedes go out of their way to sign Alexander Albon to replace, say, Bottas? But yeah, although I do remember Albon and Toro Rosso was quicker than Gasly in Red Bull a few times, I'd say the second Red Bull is the slowest out of the 4 cars. I don't think it is the slowest out of the 4 cars. I just think that inexperience makes it difficult to be able to handle the clear bias that there is to Max. But I remember when Albon got the seat that people said that Albon was a lot more suited than Gasly because his driver style suited the Red Bull car and was a lot more similar to Max Verstappen's. But now that's gone out the window because Albon has, you go from there. Rox, I completely agree. Can we stop saying they built a car around Max? He jumped in that car in 2016 and performed straight away. Absolutely. At the end of the day, you've got to keep judging. You've got to judge Albon and Gasly. As harsh as it is, in that Red Bull is the second best car on the grid. Whether you think there's clear differences between the first and second car, I mean, Red Bull can't afford to have clear differences when they're trying to chase down Mercedes. They will be giving Albon everything that they possibly can to help him in that car. But Albon is inexperienced. He doesn't have the experience to be able to adjust to multiple setups in a weekend. He doesn't have the experience to just know the setups. It's even like for some of these tracks this season for Alex, it will only be his second ever time racing them as a driver. So he's still learning the sport. So it's unfair to expect him to kind of do good performances. But that's the level that you have to be judged against when you're in the second best car on the grid. And that's the level that I'm pretty sure Albon would want to be judged against. And so it's really, sorry, I've just got to plug in charge here. Otherwise we're going to die midstream. But yeah, that would honestly be in there for now. In seriousness, JB's gone in. I don't believe there's any difference between Rox, this is where I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think Alex has done really well at any point in his Red Bull career. I think he's done okay at Max thing. He's never really beaten cars in a Grand Prix that he shouldn't have beaten, being in a Red Bull car. And he's only ever got in positions to gain podiums. At Austria race 1, he was in a position to go podium, but he was in the second best car of the grid and Max Verstappen retired. He's never been in positions to really challenge for race wins or there without the help of a safety car. So on your own admission that Max jumped straight into that Red Bull car and performed, Albon hasn't jumped straight into the car and performed. He's done okay. He's done the bare minimum of what's acceptable in a Red Bull car. And that's the honest and harsh truth of everything. But we're not going to keep going on about Alex Albon because I want to talk about other impressive performances. So what did everyone think about, the performances of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris? Like, I think Charles' performance in that Ferrari really does deserve kind of merit. I think that was a really great performance from there. Obviously, I would, Sergio, what I would say is I never think that, Albon, like I said, Albon has never pulled off championship level performances for me in my books. Not a chance. And go from there. Red Bull should not look for a second Verstappen, but more of a second Webber. Absolutely. Charles was good. Now back to Alex. I mean, if you guys want to discuss about it in chat, I'm happy to kind of discuss this Albon thing because it is a good discussion. But I don't want to beat the kid down because, he's barely into his second full season of Formula One and he's been put in an incredibly difficult position. And it's unfair. Red Bull are asking unrealistic things. Alex shouldn't be in this position. At the end of the day, neither should Gasly. Ricciardo stuffed them up, but not stuffed them up. Red Bull clearly made Ricciardo not feel invested in the program, or whichever way you look at the argument of how Ricciardo led Red Bull, it left a gap. At that point, Red Bull needed to go, okay, we've lost Ricciardo. Right, Gasly's not ready, and Kvyat was out of the picture. Let's allow Gasly time in Toro Rosso to carry on developing so that in a year, 2, 3 years, he might be in the right place to take that second seat and we can keep our internal program. And for the meantime, we go outside the program like a Mark Webber, and you go and get someone who can support Max, push Max performances, develop the car, and really take a charge to Mercedes. But they took a downgrade on the Honda engine, which they've got to catch up, which needs an experienced driver to kind of help and develop and drive things forward compared to where they were with the Renault engine. And now they took a downgrade on where Daniel Ricciardo was on the driver front, but still expecting Ricciardo performances from guys who just aren't ready from there. Can we slap the crap out of Leclerc's number one for releasing him in track it? Next year, McLaren will get Mercedes engines. If Red Bull has to beat McLaren, then they, Seb and Max are their only option. I think McLaren are in a great place going into the 2021 season. I really do. If they can figure out their race pace, which is a little bit behind at the moment, with the Mercedes engine, the McLaren could well be challenging Red Bull, if not beating it. David Xavier, Red Bull didn't treat Ricciardo well. The team always had preferred treatments for the younger of the two drivers. Yeah, you can say that in terms of they do get hung up on the next prodigal son. In fairness, though, Max Verstappen's talent Worthy's investing a lot of time in. Let's not beat around the bush here. Max Verstappen is an exceptional talent in Formula One. So if you're a team, he's your guy you're going to invest in and give him the best shot of winning a championship. But outside of that, you probably need a guy to kind of be experienced there. Obviously, lots of comments. Lots of comments trying to kind of keep up with everything on there. God, you guys are keeping me busy today in here. Albon, I like Gasly, has a really ballsy racecraft. And last year, this is my problem with Albon. I think he has ballsy racecraft. He does go for exciting moves, but I also think he's a little bit reckless in overtakes. He puts his car in compromised positions. And I don't actually think, comparative to, say, someone like Lando Norris, his overtaking actually isn't very good at all. I would say Lando Norris has really ballsy racecraft and has fantastic racecraft. I would say Alexander Albon has aggressive and risky racecraft, in my personal opinion on that one. I think Perez is perfect for Red Bull. Who was that, Sam? Yeah, I would agree. I think if Perez loses the Aston Martin seat to Sebastian Vettel, I think Perez would be a great driver to step into the Red Bull, certainly on that front. And he certainly would have earned that type of drive with everything that he's done in his career. I do think that Sergio Perez would be a fantastic shout. Go from there. Leandro Aruja, about pace. Red Bull is again slower than last year. A team that really wants to challenge for the championship can't go like this, building a car slower. No, they can't, which is my issue in you need the drivers are one of the key feedback developers because they give the car. So you need, at the moment, there's a lot of pressure on Max Verstappen to do all of that and develop a car. You know, he needs an experienced guy next to him to help out and push him in his own performances, but also help shoulder the responsibility of developing, because make no bones about it, at the moment, all the development feedback will be coming from Max Verstappen, because Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon, they're barely into Formula One. They don't really understand what makes a good F1 car at the moment, because that's not fault of their own. That only comes with time and experience. That's no fault of theirs, but that puts a lot of pressure on Max Verstappen, and that can't be helping the team as well. If they wanted to relieve it and keep it in the Red Bull program, they should have gone with Kvyat, because he spent a whole year developing with Ferrari as a developing driver, and he's had experiences within Formula One, I think since 2015 was Daniel Kvyat's first performances. So that's 5 years, roughly about the same time as Max Verstappen actually in there. So he definitely would have been there, but I don't think he's necessarily the guy who would have pushed performance in there. Yeah. Thing is, Albon gets removed. Who do they get instead? Have a punt with an F2 driver that's probably too risky. Maybe get Hulk. Like I said, go from there, Craig. I would go for an experienced driver because I think that's what you need. What would you have to ask yourself? You have to try and match and beat the top team, which is Mercedes, by a country mile at the moment. You have to look at yourself and look at your decisions and go, would Mercedes make the choice to sign an inexperienced driver? Maybe at the moment in terms of it, but you can say that they had that option in Esteban Ocon, but they chose to stick with Bottas because he was the experienced one. Bottas is a really good driver, actually. He's just come up against one of the greatest of all time in Lewis Hamilton. You know, if you take Lewis Hamilton out, that thing, Bottas is actually performing pretty damn well at the front of the grid. I do think Bottas's racecraft and overall abilities are slightly behind there, but for a number 2, he's absolutely fantastic, and his development knowledge would be absolutely brilliant. So, you know, that's a clear sign with Mercedes that, you know, they wouldn't make this type of decision. So Red Bull can't really expect to hope to catch Mercedes if they're going to be behind in areas that Mercedes would excel in from there. Imagine Kimi in a Red Bull. Kimi's driving style should suit that Red Bull car. I mean, Kimi's not the worst shout. I do think with Kimi Räikkönen, he's the perfect number 2. He's just there to kind of drive and get performances there. 2018, he probably... We still got 3rd, didn't he, in the championship? He got... Where did he get 3rd as well? Did he get 3rd in 2017? No, Bottas got 3rd in 2017 and 4th, which probably let Sebastian Vettel down in that championship fight that season. But yeah, I think Kimi's time has probably gone in a top car. But yes, someone with experience, someone like Sergio Perez, for me, would be a perfect fit. Go from there. But yeah, like I said, Valtteri Bottas is the key example here in terms of a car being built around, because there is no mistake that that car is built around Lewis Hamilton as a championship leader, and Bottas still manages to match Hamilton at times and at least competes with him regularly and supports him as a number 2. The customer Merc engine looks to be almost a second slower than the main team. Thank you for joining, Ewok from Endor. It's good to kind of have you in the chat. Yes, I believe the customer engines are always slower, but as of 2022, I believe there is a rule brought in on the engines front that customer teams will get the exact same engine as the manufacturer. So even if they're getting slightly downgraded Mercedes engine as it currently stands, definitely, even if they are having a deficit of performance at the moment with it, come 2022, those customer teams, especially Mercedes customer teams, will definitely see a benefit in performance. What do you think of Drugovich in F2? He's looking really good, and he's one of my favourites now. I think Felipe Drugovich in F2, as a quick side note, obviously, I think it's in the background on the formation lap. Oh, someone's failed on the formation lap. Now, that doesn't look good, but I'll definitely catch up with that action later on. But yeah, I think Drugovich is doing fantastic in F2, considering that he didn't have really a great F3 season last year. To honest with you, Phil, main reason why I haven't looked over Kvyat was because Marco didn't want to swallow his pride. JB, I think that's absolutely spot on. Kvyat was the obvious option for me, and instead they've rushed another driver and it has not paid out. I think Red Bull's management as a team is really struggling from that. Trying to follow clients. Look what happened to Williams when Bottas left. Exactly, yeah. Bottas was very good for Williams in that seat with Felipe Massa. They had a very good there. On your point, they should aim to beat Merc. And if they want to do that, they need to take risks, and hiring young drivers is what they need, in my opinion. I would say that if they had George Russell in the Red Bull Academy, then I think that's the type of young driver you take it on. Alexander Albon and Pierre Gasly had solid junior careers, but they didn't have standout junior careers. and they haven't had standout performances in Formula One from there. So that's what I would say. There's nothing about them that makes me go, wow, they're incredible. They're a really big deal, which, they're still incredibly talented guys, but they're not elite level. So if they are going for young drivers and the talent, they've got to be next level. And that's the only one it will go there. Experience, the thing is, Red Bull have the champion. Max Verstappen would clearly challenge for a title, but they just haven't got everything else. Go from there. Oh, was that Ilott on the formation? That poor Ilott promotes Mick Schumacher to P2, so that should be different. Poor Ilott, that's a struggle. He's been doing fantastic going from there. David Saber, Hamilton like his car to have a bit of understeering, which is easier to manage than to have a car that has tendency of oversteering. The engine rule is already in effect, but according to the directive, customer teams may continue to use different specifications of software, fuel, and oil to any metrics. Sergio, thank you for that. That's very useful. Kids love F1. Quali was so underwhelming, I've decided to stay for FT for once. In fairness, if you're expecting a fight for pole for the rest of the season, it's going to be a struggle and probably underwhelming. And I'd recommend watching F2 anyway, because it is brilliant in terms of that. But guys, obviously we focused a lot on Alexander Albon there, and I do feel sorry for the kid, because he's just thrown into something that, for me, he's quite clearly obviously out of his depth, and he's in a big spotlight seat, so every mistake is going to be scrutinized a lot more than if he was in that AlphaTauri still, which in my opinion he should be. Sam, enjoy F2. Thanks for joining in. Shout out to the McLaren boys, wrung the neck out those cars. Yeah, Rox, absolutely. I think McLaren, their one lap pace again is incredibly impressive. Norris, massively impressive P5, and Carlos Sainz again P7, really good. Go from there. Yeah, Sam, absolutely no problem at all. If you want to DM me about that video thing, absolutely no from there. To be honest, I don't watch the fight for the win in F1 too much. I more often watch the midfield. I think at the moment, because Mercedes are so dominant, you kind of accept that you're not watching F1 for title fights and race wins. You're more watching it for the brilliant action, and there is so much brilliant action in F1 in that midfield currently. Go from there. Ewok wants Mick Schumacher to win the race. Zhao looks like he's making. Oh no, Zhao's gone wide. Zhao's been a little bit disappointing in F2 for me this season. I do have to admit on that front. Did Mick Schumacher take the lead from Felipe Drogovic? I don't know in terms of that. Potentially Schwartzman started far back. Anyway, trying to kind of catch F2 in there. I'm going to watch that go from there. Also, just quickly before I go, Lando helmet is brilliant. Absolutely. Lando, absolutely brilliant. That's made not only Ava's day, but probably year, that the fact that her design has made it onto a helmet. That was incredible, and such a kind of heartfelt and kind of wholesome idea for Lando Norris to do that. That was brilliant. I really do love that. Go from there. Thanks for the stream. I have to go. No problem, Carola. Thanks for joining me on the stream. Hopefully, guys, for all you guys going, obviously remember that we are live after the race tomorrow, and obviously be able to go from there. You watch F1 for your fantasy team. I think definitely goes on that one. JWF1, a great actually YouTube channel. Brilliant. Definitely go and check him out. Thanks for coming into the chat. For Mercedes to be a whole second quicker in quali is just madness. It just shows how good of a car Mercedes have built. No wonder Racing Point felt the need to copy them. Absolutely. It just sums it up. Incredible. Yeah, no, looks like Schumacher is leading the race. Oh, Drogovic has dropped down a few positions, and Mazepin is currently P2 with Lundgaard in P3 completing the promotion positions. But before we kind of end, guys, is there any thoughts ahead of tomorrow's race? Anyone's, if I'm being honest, podium prediction for me, I think it's pretty much going to be exactly the same of how it's finished in qualifying. Lewis first, Valtteri second, and Verstappen third, although I hope for a kind of bit of a spice up. Maybe a better question would be, who will finish P4 in the race? And on that one, I might go... Or do I back Charles? Because they won the softs, the medium compound. Will the Racing Point be able to have that advantage? Yes, Great. I'll go for Lance Stroll to finish P4 tomorrow. Let me know in the comments who you go from there. Hulk in the points, good shout. I think a lot of people would love to see Hulk in the points, and I think if Hulk gets a good points return for that racing point, it will be really positive for the team. Incredibly in such short notice seen on there. See you later, Craig. Thanks for joining into the third. Red Bull should have gone for signs when Daniel moved to Red Bull. Yeah, I think that was another kind of pride swallowing situation for him. I'm saying Stroll for P4 or maybe Albon. The Red Bull pace is really strong. If Albon gets P4 tomorrow, I'll give him that's an absolutely fantastic drive. JWF1 going, I think Albon's going to have a charge in the race and take at least P5. I think that's the very least he needs to do. P4 still would be a very impressive drive. And I know obviously we've been harsh in driver ratings on Monday with Alex Albon. I think if he gets into P4 tomorrow, it certainly would be a good race. In circumstances, obviously, Albon is the massive benefiter. He loves a good safety car, Alexander Albon, to help him out in races on pace from there. Albon for podium for my prediction. David's going nice and bold there. We love a good bold prediction on F1 Fanatics on there. But yes, I think Bottas will win. From Endor, I think Bottas needs to win for the championship to kind of keep fighting. Minimum he has to come in as P2. So yeah, that would definitely go there. I remember someone said that the Mercedes had pornographic. Oh, honestly, JB, brilliant on there. Who will DNF of the Mercs or Max? Yeah, because that would be Norris P3. Geez, Norris P3. That would be incredible for Norris to get another. I predicted it, I think, didn't I, in the bold predictions of the race preview. That would be brilliant to see Norris in there. I remember a while back you did a video of Norris versus Albon. I think you said Albon was better. I assume that's not what you think now. No, I said Norris was better. I said it was close, but I said Norris was better than Alex Albon in that video, JB. I thought it was closer back then, but I would say now, comfortably, I think Lando Norris is the better driver between the two. For now. Oh, David Xavier going for a Max retirement. I hope not. I hope Max kind of finishes the race, and he's the only guy I can see who can push the Mercedes. I mean, he's going to have to do something incredible to do something in the race. He's going to have a great race start and Bottas to kind of cock the start again. But yeah, the problem is there's so many overtaking points at Silverstone that it's difficult to keep a faster car behind you, so it will struggle on that front. But anyway, guys, if that's it, unless there's any last chance, I've got to give you until 30 seconds, go from there. JB, completely agree on that. I think we'd have a very different view on Albon if we remained at AlphaTauri. Absolutely, but you know, when you get in the Red Bull seat, you get judged by Red Bull standards. But yeah, guys, unless there's anything in the chat, I'll end it off for here today. I hope you all obviously have a fantastic rest of your days, evenings, wherever you are in the world, kind of watching this, and look forward to the race tomorrow. Silverstone usually always kind of brings up fantastic races, so I can't wait to see what that's going to kind of unfold in the race tomorrow, and excited obviously for you guys. Obviously, if you enjoyed the live stream today, it'd be fantastic coming to see you in the live stream tomorrow as well, and go from there. Red Bull's drivers program isn't working as the last one from me. What from on Endor? Yes, I would definitely say that it started to not work the best that it had done in early on there. Cheers, JB, as well, for joining in there. Thanks for coming in there. Good luck for fantasy for you tomorrow as well. Haley's keep racing, barbecue time. That's it. I'm off to kind of go and get some barbecue food for this evening, taking advantage of this great weather that we're having in the UK as well. Like I said, guys, I hope you have a fantastic time. Thank you for joining, as always, in the chat. It's been brilliant having discussions and debates, as always, on this channel. We do love kind of having fan debates here. I know I waffle on, so I will round up. So yes, look forward to seeing you guys all the way tomorrow. Enjoy the race for when we see it, and I can't wait to kind of discuss it all. But that's it from me. So for now, UF1 fans, keep racing.